Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 122 based on novel. So let's start. The treasure pavilion was in the center of the purple division on a giant platform that branched off from the mountains. This pavilion had a total of 9 floors, and when looking at it from a distance, the dense spiritual energy it released looked like an umbrella. This pavilion was made of green jade tiles. The outside of the building had an ancient feel as if it had been cleansed countless times by the passage of time. Some of the green jade tiles had even turned gray. A few green vines were growing out of the cracks in the green jade tiles and covered parts of the building. On every section of vine grew a purple flower that gave off a fragrance that could shake people's hearts. There was a giant formation under the pavilion. This formation expanded across the entire platform and had the treasure pavilion at its center. From a distance, the formation looked like yin and yang fusing together, creating a sense of chaos in the middle. There were also 3 powerful auras within the formation that seemed to be trying to break out from it. These 3 auras formed 3 white marks that moved within the formation, but oddly enough, they never collided with each other. There was currently a person sitting in the lotus position outside the treasure pavilion. This person was a middle-aged man who was wearing a black robe, his eyebrows were like swords, his skin was as white as jade, and his beard, which was divided into 3 strands, was flowing in the wind, giving him the air of a celestial. This person's cultivation was completely hidden. Unless someone had a higher cultivation level, it would be very difficult to see through this person. He sat there with a calm expression as if nothing in the world mattered. Right now all his attention was focused on the object in his lap. In the person's lap sat a 7-foot-long sword. The sword was completely green and gave off a ghostly light. Under the sunlight, the surrounding area was covered in this green light, painting everything around it green. Wang Lin stood several dozen feet outside the treasure pavilion as he stared at the person sitting outside. This person's cultivation is at the peak of the late stage of soul formation, but there is a very well-hidden sword intent inside him. The middle-aged man opened his eyes and saw Wang Lin standing not far from him. He was startled and quickly stood up, clasped his hands, and respectfully said, "Disciple Zhong Xiangfan greets 7th ancestor." That green sword turned into a ray of green light and disappeared into his body. Wang Lin's eyes landed on Zhong Xiangfan's forehead and then he calmly asked, "Can you let me see your flying sword?" Zhong Xiangfan was startled. He nodded and said, "Disciple's flying sword is just an ordinary item. I obtained it from a shop outside the sect, and it has nothing special about it. If 7th ancestor wants to see it, then that is naturally fine." With that, he pointed between his brows and let out a low roar. A green light flew out, took the form of the 7-foot-long sword, and released waves of sword hymns. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he reached out with his hand. When the green sword was caught by him, he pulled it towards him and began to carefully examine it. Just earlier when Zhong Xiangfan put away the flying sword, the sword intent Wang Lin felt disappeared. Now that he called out the sword again, Wang Lin realized that what gave off the sword intent earlier wasn't Zhong Xiangfan but this flying sword. Wang Lin's heart started trembling when he gently touched the sword with his left hand. If it was anyone else, it would be very difficult to feel the sword intent on this sword. If someone else found it, they would realize that this sword was not normal. However, when Wang Lin felt this sword intent, his heart trembled. A very familiar feeling filled his heart when he felt this sword intent. Ju Yi, Wang Lin pondered. The sliver of sword intent on this sword was clearly the sword intent Ju Yi gave off when he turned into a sword spirit. Back then, Ju Yi chased after sword Saint Ling Qianhu. He had been gone for more than 100 years since then. This was the first time he had felt Ju Yi's sword intent. If he hadn't spent a very long time under the pagoda comprehending Ju Yi's domain, there would have been no way for him to know at a glance that this sword intent came from Ju Yi. There was only a small trace of sword intent in this sword. After feeling this sword intent, Wang Lin pondered for a bit and rubbed the flying sword. The sword suddenly began to glow bright green and a ray of green light flew out of it. The green light turned into a green star and floated before Wang Lin. Looking at the star, Wang Lin let out a sigh. He grabbed the star, looked at Zhong Xiangfan, who didn't know what to do, and said, "There is a trace of sword intent in his sword from an old friend, so I'm taking it away. However, I won't mistreat you. Here, take this jade. There are 18 restrictions on his jade. Place them on any high-quality or lower flying sword and they will make its power increase several-fold." With that, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding. A jade appeared in his hand and he threw it at Zhong Xiangfan. As for the green flying sword, Wang Lin also returned it. Although Zhong Xiangfan showed a look of respect, his eyes revealed the pain of loss. He accepted the jade without much expectations and subconsciously scanned it, but he was immediately shocked and revealed a startled expression. Shortly after, he suddenly raised his head and respectfully said, "Thank you, seventh ancestor." Zhong Xianfan has cultivated for a long time and had seen a lot, so he was immediately able to tell that these 18 restrictions were not simple. These 18 restrictions were all attack restrictions, and what was even more rare was that they could be stacked on top of each other. Zhong Xiangfan suppressed the excitement in his heart. He wished he could go into closed-door cultivation right now and imprint the 18 restrictions on a flying sword right away, then he would never have to fear fellow late-stage soul formation cultivators. These 18 restrictions were only two groups of restrictions that Wang Lin had been studying from Yun Qzi's straw hat. These weren't even remotely enough for the restriction flag to reach the next stage. Wang Lin didn't waste any time and directly said, "I came here to pick up my celestial jades." Zhong Xiangfan quickly nodded and said, "Seventh ancestor, you get 100 celestial jades every month. Give me your token and I'll open up the transfer array for you." Wang Lin remained silent as he waved his hand and threw the token over. After Zhong Xiangfan received it, he respectfully took a few steps back, then he checked the ground for a bit, calculated a bit with his fingers and finally pressed the token against the ground. Wang Lin clearly saw that Zhong Xiangfan had pressed down when all three auras were at the same location. As soon as the token pressed down on the formation, all three auras charged toward the token. There was a loud rumble and Zhong Xiangfan wasn't able to hold onto the token any longer, so he was forced back several steps. But that token started floating in the sky and the three auras flew out from the ground and through the token. They moved faster and faster until one could only see after images connecting together. After several breaths of time, the token released a powerful, purple light that shined on the surrounding area. Then the three auras charged out of the token and fused into one. The combined auras flew toward the treasure pavilion, stopped before the 7th floor, and turned into a giant gate of light. Zhong Xiangfan quickly and respectfully said, "Seventh ancestor, please enter with the token." Without a word, Wang Lin walked forward, grabbed the token, and flew directly toward the 7th floor. This light door clearly had the effect of transfer array. The moment Wang Lin stepped inside, his eyes blurred, and when he could clearly see again, he was in a world that was like the celestial realm. This place was filled with the fragrance of flowers, clear water rushed through a stream, the sky was covered in 7-colored clouds, and there were even cranes that would occasionally fly by. At this moment, the 7-colored clouds quickly gathered in the sky to form a figure. Wang Lin couldn't see the exact face of this figure, but waves of celestial spiritual energy were coming from it. "Token." A majestic voice came from this giant figure. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he threw the token. The token quickly flew toward the giant. When the token got close to it, it collapsed into golden specks of light and fused into the giant. Shortly after, the giant spoke again. "The 7th disciple of the Purple Division hasn't withdrawn celestial jades for 103 years. Do you want to take them all out at once?" Wang Lin was startled. Even with his mental strength, he couldn't help but be shocked. He took a deep breath and said, "I want to withdraw it all. A total of 123,600 pieces." As the giant's voice echoed, countless celestial jades flew out of the giant's body and piled up before Wang Lin. Wang Lin stared at the pile of celestial jades as it rapidly grew and felt his throat dry up. He never would have thought that the Heavenly Fate sect distributed celestial jades like this. If a disciple spot remains empty for tens of thousands of years, then won't the amount of celestial jades collect to an unimaginable degree? Celestial jades are supposed to be rare, so why does the Heavenly sect have so many, Wang Lin took a deep breath. At this moment, the celestial jades had already formed a small mountain. His eyes lit up as he quickly put them into his bag of holding. After doing all of this, he touched his bag of holding. He still felt like none of this was real. He bitterly smiled and shook his head. No wonder people considered him a hick, his current knowledge was still not enough. These 100,000 plus celestial jades were already enough to make his eyes red. If anyone had tried to stop him earlier, no matter who it was, Wang Lin would have attacked without any hesitation. He took a deep breath and then his eyes became clear again. Only now did he recover from the shock of the celestial jades. At this moment, the giant figure in the sky slowly disappeared and turned back into those 7-colored clouds. There were specks of golden light in the sky that slowly reformed back into the token and flew toward Wang Lin like lightning. Wang Lin raised his right hand. At the moment he touched the token, an invisible force pushed him back several dozen feet and he disappeared from that place. Wang Lin appeared outside the 7th floor of the treasure pavilion. Right after he appeared, he turned into a ray of light and flew off into the distance. Along the way, Wang Lin moved very fast and charged directly toward the Purple Forest Pavilion. Now that he had enough celestial jades, he planned to enter closed-door cultivation to absorb them all and reach the mid-stage of soul transformation as soon as possible. Then, he would be able to fight for the position of true disciple in 3 months. Wang Lin moved very fast, creating sonic booms which made him very noticeable in this quiet purple division mountain. At this moment, right below where Wang Lin flew over, there was an elegant bamboo porch with 3 old men sitting on it. The 3 of them were all disciplinary elders of the purple division. One of them looked up at where Wang Lin disappeared to before letting out a snort and saying, with a dissatisfied tone, "This Wang Lin is too arrogant. He dares to use such speed inside the sect grounds." The old man beside him shook his head and said, "Unless they betray the sect, it is best not to mess with the ancestors' disciples. Although this person's cultivation level isn't high, he has plenty of battle experience. Even if the 3 of us work together, it would at most be a tie." The last person picked up a purple teacup, took a sip, and said, "This is not something we should worry about. The competition between the ancestors' disciples is extremely fierce. The 3 of us have been in this sect for thousands of years, have you still not seen through it all?" The 3 silently pondered. Wang Lin flew full speed the entire way and shortly after arrived back at the Purple Forest Pavilion. He descended to the ground, leaving an arc of light behind. The moment he landed, his expression changed and he turned around to look into the distance. There was a ray of light coming straight at Wang Lin. This ray of light disappeared in the air, revealing the figure of a late-stage soul transformation cultivator. This person was 4th sister. At the same time, there was a flash of light and Zhao Xingsha appeared with a friendly smile. On his right, accompanied by a flash of purple light, the second brother walked out with a gloomy expression. Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he calmly looked at the 3 and said, "Fellow cultivator in hiding, why play this game? Come out." He didn't detect anyone else, but seeing how calm the other 3 were, he knew that they must have backup. After Wang Lin spoke, a laugh echoed in the void as a blue figure suddenly appeared in the sky. This was a young man who was about 30 years old, but for cultivators, judging people's age by appearance was moot. This person was wearing all blue with 3 blue dragons embroidered on his sleeve. Heavenly Fate Sect's 3rd-ranked disciple of the Blue Division, Sima Rufeng. This person had a gentle smile, and after he appeared, his gaze landed on Wang Lin. Late-stage soul transformation. And a slightly higher cultivation level than 4th sister, he should be at the peak of the late stage of soul transformation. Wang Lin's pupils shrank by an unnoticeable amount. Sima Rufeng loudly said, "Junior apprentice brother Wang Lin, although we are not in the same division, I have heard about you. Today I'm going to introduce you to another senior apprentice brother. Brother Wang, since you came, you might as well show yourself." HMPH. A cold sound came from the void. This voice contained a hint of coldness. Wang Lin turned around to find that someone else had appeared several dozen feet behind him without him knowing. This person was wearing a blue robe and stood there like a large piece of never-melting ice. After taking one look at Wang Lin, he closed his eyes to rest. This gaze revealed a sense of coldness, like he controlled everything. It was as if Wang Lin was not worthy to get him to act. Although he hasn't reached the ascendant stage, he is half a foot in. Wang Lin's face was gloomy. With the 5 of them here, their purpose was obvious. He slowly put his hand on his bag of holding. At this moment, the Purple Division's 4th sister had a helpless look on her face as she said, "7th brother, I was asked by someone else to act, so I have no choice. I hope you can understand." With that, her hand formed a seal, then she pointed at Wang Lin and sang. A ray of silver light came out from her body and covered the surrounding 10 kilometers. Forbidden technique, teleport. With a shout, the silver light glowed brightly and then disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin disappeared with the woman. There was a large forest tens of thousands of kilometers from the Heavenly Fate sect. The forest was dense with trees that looked like sharp swords pointing into the sky. Even from a distance, one could see that this place was filled with killing intent. Strands of killing intent mysteriously leaked out from the rocks, created this large flame of killing intent. At this moment, waves of silver light suddenly appeared above the forest. This silver light got stronger and stronger until it covered a 10-kilometer of area. This place was very deserted. If there were any cultivators around, they were rouge cultivators. When they saw the silver light, all of them either escaped or observed, but no one went toward it. In the middle of the silver light, 2 figures appeared, one male and one female. The female was very beautiful and was wearing a purple robe that made her look like a celestial. Her flowing black hair gave her a very elegant feel. The male was also wearing a purple robe, but his eyes were extremely cold. He stood there like a tall tree, aloof and extraordinary. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he calmly said, "4th sister's forbidden technique has really opened my eyes." When she used the technique earlier, Wang Lin clearly felt the surrounding space becoming something like a liquid, making it impossible for him to teleport out. In addition to all of this, there were 4 killing intents locked onto Wang Lin. If he tried to move, those 4 killing intents would attack him. These 4 killing intent came from Zhao Xingxia, 2nd brother, and the 2 from the Blue Division. Their goal wasn't to kill Wang Lin, but to suppress him. With several people acting together, Wang Lin didn't dare to act recklessly, so he just let her teleport him. The 4th sister slowly said, "If 7th brother is interested in this spell, I can teach it to you once things are over. However, right now I hope you will quietly go into closed-door cultivation here for 3 years. In 3 years, I'll come and free you." Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he looked around. This place was surrounded by mysterious boulders with engravings on them. If one were to look from above, they would clearly see that they were restrictions. Does senior apprentice sister think a mere restriction can trap me? Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he waved his right hand. A ray of white light appeared and turned into a sword. Wang Lin grabbed the sword and threw it toward a rock on the ground. But before the sword flew more than 100 feet, it slowed down, shattered into specks of light, and disappeared. Wang Lin frowned. Junior apprentice brother, this restriction was placed by senior apprentice brother himself. Unless he was confident, there is no way he would leave you in here, so don't waste your energy. 4th sister let out a sigh as she flew outside the range of the silver light. She turned around and gave Wang Lin a meaningful look before muttering, "Senior apprentice brother, the favor I owe you from back then has been repaid. From now on, there are no more relations between us." With that, she flew back toward the Heavenly Fate sect. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he watched her figure slowly disappear. His eyes became colder and then he took out the celestial sword. With one swing, a slash of sword energy several feet wide appeared and sliced down on the rock nearby. At the start, the sword energy was very powerful, but the farther it went, the weaker it became. After 3 breaths, it completely disappeared. Wang Lin pondered a bit before charging directly toward the sky. As he flew up, he felt a powerful force preventing him from flying higher. This force became stronger and stronger as if the heavens were pressing down on him. Not only did he not give up, but he let out a roar and flew even faster. He charged out several hundred more feet. At this moment, from a distance, one could only see a purple figure charging into the sky above the forest. But a ray of silver light was still just above the person. As the person charged out further, the silver light changed shape with him until it was a long oval. Veins appeared on Wang Lin's forehead, then he let out a roar and charged out even more. Right now the force coming from above him was equal to the full power of a late-stage soul transformation cultivator. Wang Lin's face became pale and his body bounced back like a meteor. He flew toward the ground at an unimaginable speed, but when he got close to the ground, his body suddenly spun to dissolve all the force. Eventually, he stood on a rock, stared at the sky with a gloomy expression, and silently pondered. Shortly after, he slapped his bag of holding and the celestial sword flew out. Wang Lin pointed forward. Shuligua understood the order and let out a roar before charging forward. The half-moon blade quickly followed the celestial sword and they charged into the sky. The force came back again and this time several times stronger than before, causing Shuligua to let out a miserable scream. "Master, it is not possible, I can't break this strange thing. The little blade can't break through either." Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he waved his hand and the celestial sword came back. The half-moon blade circled with the sword and let out wave of blade hymns. It seemed very frustrated. "They want to seal me here until the decision for the true disciple is over. How could I let them do as they wish? Since this place is desolate, I'll use this place to cultivate. Once I reach the mid-stage of soul transformation, I'll definitely be able to break out and join the fight for the true disciple position." With that, Wang Lin's figure disappeared from the rock and he charged into the depths of the forest. Wang Lin moved through the forest like a bolt of lightning. After many tests, he found the border of this forest. The border was surrounded by the silver light, and there was no way for him to break out of it. In the end, he decided to sit down and then he slapped his bag of holding. Countless celestial jades flew out and circled around him. From a distance, Wang Lin was very eye-catching due to being in the center of all those celestial jades. His eyes were currently as bright as torches. He pointed at the celestial jades, and suddenly one of them flew over to the tip of his finger. At the moment Wang Lin's finger touched the celestial jade, waves of cracking sounds could be heard, and a large amount of cracks appeared on it. Its color went from milky white to gray, and then it shattered into dust and fell to the ground. Before the dust could land, it was blown away by the current of air created by the orbiting celestial jades and scattered across the area. After one jade shattered, another one flew over. Right now Wang Lin's finger was like a flame in the night and the celestial jades were like moths desperately pouncing toward the flames. 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, a large number of celestial jades had turned to dust from having all of their celestial spiritual energy extracted. This process continued for a while longer. Wang Lin's posture didn't change at all as he absorbed celestial spiritual energy, condensed it, and fused it with his body. Time slowly passed. Wang Lin had already forgotten about the passage of time, because was focusing all of his attention on cultivating and absorbing celestial spiritual energy. A golden halo gradually formed behind Wang Lin. This halo was filled with celestial spiritual energy and was very tyrannical. This halo of celestial spiritual energy forms when one fills their body with celestial spiritual energy. Once it is fused with their body, it will make the amount of celestial spiritual energy one can hold increase, enabling them to freely use more celestial spiritual energy. Wang Lin didn't stop cultivating for even a moment. Right now there were only a few celestial jades still circling around him. He reached in with his divine sense and even more celestial jades flew out from his bag. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes were well hidden. It was like there were churning clouds covering up his intentions. He gazed at the surrounding celestial jades and, after pondering for a bit, began to absorb. All of the celestial jades surrounding Wang Lin began to collapse from the inside out. This collapse expanded really quickly, so after a few moments, the cracks had reached the surface. An endless supply of celestial spiritual energy came out from the collapsing celestial jades, and without exception, all of the celestial spiritual energy surged toward Wang Lin. After the celestial spiritual energy entered his body, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he focused all of his attention on cultivation. 3 months of time passed in the blink of an eye. This was the day of a great celebration that only took place every 10,000 years on planet Qianyun. Today was the 10,000-year jubilee of the All-Seer. The All-Seer had a birthday celebration every 10,000 years. Very few people nowadays knew how many times he had celebrated his birthday. But without exception, every time he celebrated, the entire planet would join in on the festivities. Even the Cultivation Alliance would send someone over to attend. Even for a rank 7 cultivation planet, it was very rare to have someone from the Cultivation Alliance attend. 1 month ago, the Purple Fog defensive formation was changed into a purple belt around the planet, and countless Heavenly Sect disciples were sent out to greet the guests. Unlike the outsiders, many of the natives of planet Tianyun also arrived with gifts. A large amount of people from the 5 smaller planets around planet Tianyun came to celebrate the All-Seer's birthday as well. Even those old monsters who controlled the outer planets by themselves all came to planet Tianyun. It can be said that there was no one on planet Tianyun who didn't know of this event. In the month leading up to the celebration, a large amount of housing was built for the guests. All of the disciples in the 7 divisions of the Heavenly Fate sect were extremely busy. With a large amount of people from the other sects and from outside the planet gathered in one place, exchanges and conversations were unavoidable. No one who could be here was weak, so exchanging with each other was very beneficial for them. On this day, the person in charge of greeting people arriving on planet Tianyun was the Purple Division's senior apprentice brother, Zhao Xingshao. He was wearing a purple robe embroidered with golden silk veins, his token was hanging on his shoulder, and an ancient sword was on his back. He looked very elegant, and adding on his gentle smile, anyone who saw him would have good feelings toward him. Right now he was standing on top of the purple mist while staring down at the planet. He let out a smile and muttered to himself, "This is the first time I have been to Master's birthday celebration, and I did indeed meet a lot of friends. Especially that Yun Luo Sect's junior sect master. His cultivation is pretty good and his personality is to my liking. Unfortunately, 7th brother will not be able to make friends. 7th brother, there was never any animosity between us, but you should have never tried to fight with me for the title of true disciple. Master's birthday celebration will be when my Purple Division's true disciple is selected. 2nd brother has already given up. I don't consider 3rd brother worthy of being my enemy, and as for 4th sister, if she tries to compete with me, I naturally have ways of dealing with her. 5th sister was sent to the heavenly prison for closed-door cultivation by Master as punishment, and 6th brother went out to train himself. Whether he is alive or dead is unknown, so he might not even make it back. Thus, the title of the Purple Division's true disciple is mine for the taking." Zhao Xingshao's eyes revealed a mysterious light and his mouth formed a faint smile. The purple mist suddenly began to move, so Zhao Xingshao put on his gentle smile and looked into the distance. He could see a giant, golden war chariot slowly flying toward the planet. This war chariot was simply too big, it was at least thousands of feet wide. There were 4 giant demonic beasts pulling the chariot, which was how it was able to move so fast. Before it even got close, one could hear thunderous roars coming from that direction. The roars came from the 4 beasts pulling the chariot. Their bodies were enormous, and they were a type of beast that could fly for short distances in space. Although they couldn't use any spells, they shouldn't be underestimated. There were 10 people standing on 10 different spots this war chariot. They were all wearing silver robes and had cold expressions. At the center of the chariot was a chair, and there was a person lying on the chair. This person was extremely fat, he looked like a ball sitting on a chair. But his skin was as smooth and clear as crystal, anyone who looked at it would consider it dazzling. At the moment Zhao Xingshao saw the gold war chariot, he was shocked. He immediately went up and respectfully said, "Junior is the Heavenly Fate Sect's Purple Division's disciple, Zhao Xingshao. Greetings, Senior Golden Devil." When the golden war chariot stopped 100 feet away from Zhao Xingshao, a powerful aura quickly locked onto him. It was the vicious gazes of those 4 vicious beasts. Some of them even had drool dripping down from the corner of their mouths. On the top of the golden war chariot, the 10 people silently stared at Zhao Xingshao with cold gazes. Cold sweat flowed down from Zhao Xingshao's forehead. He had lost a bit of his composure because he knew the identity of the Golden Devil. This Golden Devil was the ruler of one of the smaller planets in the system. He ruled a planet by himself and was very domineering, If anyone dared to mess with him, he would try to get revenge regardless of the consequences. This person favored his own people a lot and was an eccentric. He would often kill people without a thought, and countless people had died by his hands on a whim. This person's cultivation was too powerful. Aside from a few select people, no one could stop him. Rumor has it that this golden devil's cultivation was past the illusionary yin and corporeal yang stage and had stepped into the legendary realm. The ball of meat sitting on the chair frowned and shouted, "What is this little boy standing there startled for? Lead the way." Zhao Xingshao took a deep breath. The gentle smile returned to his face, and he respectfully said, "This way, senior." He waved his hand, causing the purple mist to move and reveal a long passage. Under Zhao Xiaoshao's guidance, the giant golden chariot slowly flew toward planet Qianyun. Scenes similar to this took place multiple times a day on planet Qianyun. As the various powerful cultivators around planet Qianyun arrived, discussions of them became quite common. There were often exchanges in pointers, but everyone knew their place, so nothing too extreme happened. The area of the 7 divisions of the Heavenly Fate sect as well as tens of thousands of kilometers outside the divisions was completely filled with luxurious lofts. These lofts had all been built within a few months by using spells. Their only purpose was to provide a resting place for the guests. If someone looked at the Heavenly Fate sect from above at this moment, they would see a mountain at the center. This mountain was where the main sect of the Heavenly Fate sect was located, and around it were 7 different colored stars. These 7 stars were the 7 divisions of the Heavenly Fate sect. Outside of that was endless sea of lofts that seemed to extend indefinitely. Every time the All-Seer holds a birthday celebration, the amount of people that attend is unimaginable. But in the end, the amount of people that can enter the main sect of the Heavenly Fate sect never exceeded 100. Sometimes it was only a few dozen people. People continued to arrive until the day of the All-Seer's birthday finally arrived. On this day, there were no clouds in the sky. The sky was a calm blue, and the gentle breeze carried the fragrance of flowers. There was a total of 8 locations for the birthday celebration. There was a celebration going on at each of the 7 divisions. Aside from the celebrations at the 7 divisions, the last one was at the main sect, and this was where the main celebration was at. Anyone who could be here was not an ordinary person. The Golden Devil wasn't qualified to be there. Even with his status, he could only be at one of the sub-celebrations. This video will end here.